Hello everybody, it's Mr. Mayor here and I'm going to be giving you a quick presentation about the multiplication tables check. This is a check that takes place for children when they're in year 4 and this year it will be happening between Monday the 16th of June and Friday the 20th of June. The multiplication tables check is an assessment that takes place in year 4. It's part of the suite of statutory assessments from the Department for Education and sits alongside the Early Years Foundation Stage Profile at the end of reception, the phonics screening check in year 1 and the statutory assessment SATs at the end of year 6 as children reach the end of their time in primary school. The multiplication tables check is designed to determine whether year 4 pupils can fluently recall their multiplication tables, and it helps schools to identify pupils who require additional support. There is no pass rate or threshold for the multiplication tables check, and the Department for Education used the data generated to create a report on overall results across all schools in England to measure improvements. That being said, consistently it's found that children who score 20 or above out of 25 in the multiplication tables check are most likely to succeed in the maths curriculum in years 5 and year 6. There is a 2-week window in June for the administration of the check, and at St Bartholomew's we intend to complete our assessments during the week beginning the 16th of June. There is no set day to administer the check, but we're aspiring to ensure that all children at St Bart's have been assessed by the end of that first week. Children are not expected to take the check at the same time, and so across the country different schools will be administering the check on different days. And all eligible year 4 pupils in England will be required to take the check. If your child is not considered as eligible, we will contact you directly, and so if you do not hear from the school, please assume that your child will be sitting there to check the assessment. The check is designed to be fully digital and it will take place on screen. Children will be able to use Chromebooks, desktops and tablets, and we will ensure that your child is using a device that they are familiar with when they are completing their check. Their answers will be entered using a keyboard or by pressing digits using a mouse or touchscreen using an on-screen number pad. One of the things that is important to note about the multiplication tables check is that there is a time element to the administration, and so under standard administration the multiplication check will take less than 5 minutes per pupil. Children are given 6 seconds from the time the question appears on the screen to input their answer, and there will be 25 questions with a 3-second pause in between questions. Here is an example of what the multiplication tables check looks like. This is the first page of the check from a previous year. You can see that the calculation question 6 multiplied by 11 appears towards the centre of the screen, and next to it children need to insert their answer in the answer box. Below the answer box there are the digits that they can use to select to input their answer, and above the answer box it tells them how much time that they have left. So that's counting down from 6 to 0 before a 3-second break, and then the next question begins. There may be specific arrangements put in place for some children for the multiplication tables check. Children with additional needs who have similar provision in their day-to-day learning at school may be allotted specific arrangements, including colour contrast, font size adjustment, next buttons, removing on-screen number pads, an adult to input their answers, a question reader or audible time alerts. These things will be put in place if similar provision is already in day-to-day practice in their classrooms, and we will let you know if this is the case for your child. During the check, there will always be questions from the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11 and 12 multiplication tables. So very much the expectation is that children know all of their tables from 1 to 12 by this point in year 4. There will be no question from the 1 times table. So for example, they won't ask 1 multiplied by 8 or 8 multiplied by 1. And the 6, 7, 8, 9 and 12 times tables are more likely to be tested. And so these are the tables that would be really beneficial for you to be focusing on with your child. There will only be a maximum of 7 questions from the 2, 5 and 10 times tables. So by this stage in their school career, these are the times tables that children have had a lot of exposure to, and the expectation is that they know them very well and therefore they won't form a significant part of the screening. And reversal of questions will not feature in the same check. So for instance, if they ask you 8 multiplied by 5, they won't also ask 5 multiplied by 8. As you will already be aware, we do a lot to teach times tables across the school and to ensure that children have the confidence and automaticity to succeed in the multiplication tables check, but also, and more importantly, to succeed across the maths curriculum. The kinds of things that we do in school to teach times table facts include counting and looking for patterns, and this is something that begins from the very first weeks in reception and continues increasing in difficulty as your child moves through the year groups. We think about repeated addition and understanding that multiplication can be constructed by repeated addition. And we also focus on the fact that multiplication is commutative. So this means that it doesn't matter which way round you multiply numbers in a question, the answer will be the same. And so 4 times 5 has the same answer as 5 times 4. We also ensure that children understand that multiplication is the inverse of division, and often we'll be saying to a child that they can check their multiplication answers by using division and vice versa. We think about number families, building up to number facts, and we also use a range of different representations. And so they'll use concrete manipulatives such as counters or multi-link cubes, and pictorial representations such as arrays. And these are things that you'll have seen or heard about in reception year 1, year 2, year 3 and year 4, building up to the multiplication check, but also as strategies and skills that children can continue to use as they move into upper key stage 2. There are a number of different things that you can do at home to support your child in preparing for their multiplication tables check and ensuring that they have the automaticity and fluency to succeed across the maths curriculum. Some of the things that you can do include making sure that times tables are fun. So for instance, as your child is climbing up the stairs or moving down them, you could ask them to count in multiples of a different number. So for instance, the first step they say 8, the next step they say 16, the next step they say 24, and they continue until they can get as high as they can with their multiplication. So we're looking up to multiples of 12, but your child might want to continue adding, and that's where that repeated addition comes into play. You could play verbal times tables games. So for instance, you might say to your child, we're going to count in multiples of 9. I'll say the first one 9, you say the second one 18, I say the third one 27, and so on and so on. Listen to and learn times table songs, and so there's plenty of information and songs that you can find on YouTube or other similar platforms. And finally, and most importantly, playing online maths games. And again, there are lots of different examples that you can find, the most important of which would be Times Table Rockstars. So hopefully your child is logging onto this regularly, and this is the device that we'll be using often in school to ensure that your child is confident and familiar with the setup for the check. And so there are games and different ideas that you can use on Times Table Rockstars that mirror the expectations of the multiplication tables check. And finally, talking directly to your child's class teacher if you have any worries is really important. Whilst this is a significant check for your child, it isn't a high stakes test, and so we really do not want you to be worried or your child to be worried. And as I said at the beginning of the presentation, a lot of the tables check is about ensuring that the school understands how to support children even better as they move forward. If you do have any questions, please contact Mrs. Badmus, who's one of our maths leads and oversees the Key Stage 2 maths curriculum, and you can do this by contacting the school office if you have any questions or concerns, and she will arrange a time to get back to you or send a message back to you via Dojo or through the school office email address. Thank you so much. Take care.